Good morning, student. Today we will do the revision of sample paper. First, which of the following is not the region of obesity? Extra exercise. Extra exercise is not the region of obesity. Obesity means overweight. The major asanas which should be practiced to control obesity are Vajrasan, Hastasana, Ardhmastasana and Trikonasana. These are the asanas which we should perform to control our obesity. 50 meters run walk aims to measure an athlete's speed. 50-meter run walk, it is a test items of motor fitness test. This test is used to measure the speed of an individual. This is the ability of body to release maximum muscular contraction in the shortest possible time. It is a power. Which of the following law of motion given by Sir Isaac Newton is also known as law of inertia? Sir Isaac Newton's given three law of motion, that is, first law of motion is also known as law of inertia. Second law of motion is known as law of acceleration, and third law of motion is known as law of actions and reactions. Here the question is law of inertia. Law of inertia is also known as first law of motion. Which of the following is not the aim of sports training? Remove this ability or disorder. It is not the aim of sports training. Sports training improve the personality of an individual. That is, sports training helps in personality development. It's improve the physical fitness and development. It helps in the development of skill and technique, etc. Full form of OCD. OCD, it is a obsessive compulsive disorders. In obsessive OCD, it is the obsessive compulsive disorders. In this type of disorders, a child display an ongoing patterns of angry, irritations mode, they find argumentative behaviors, etc. What happens if muscles are not regularly stressed? If the muscles are not regularly stressed, then muscles tend to get shorter. Which among the following is an aggression in sports? Pushing up players in sports. If you become aggression, it is a violent behavior. In sports, if the persons become aggressive, he pushes the player. What is coupling ability? In relation to coordinative ability. Coordinative ability, it is the ability to perform the movement perfectly and efficiently. Coupling ability, it is related to movement of body part. Coupling means combining the movement. Committee of officials is required for conducting a sports event. Committee, it is a group of people. To organize any program or sports event, we require a committee. Finance committee manage budget for the event. Its responsibility is to make the budget. In a diet, we need proteins, carbohydrate, fats, vitamin, etc. What type of diet is this? It is a balanced diet. Balanced diet is a diet which contains all the nutrients. That is carbohydrate, proteins, fats, vitamin, mineral, etc. in a correct proportion. A large lateral curve is known as scoliosis. Scoliosis, it is a posture deformity in which our spine bends sideward. Lordosis is It is a posture deformity in which our lumbar spine bend forward. What is the effect on friction due to policing? The frictions it reduce. What is the effect of regular exercise? If we do regular exercise, our muscle will become stronger. It improve our insulin sensitivity, body compositions, all of the these. What is the role of committee for publicity? The role of publicity committee is to advertise the program, advertise the event. Who welcome the chief guest? Reception committee welcome the chief guest of in an event. Selection of officials like referee, judge, umpire are done by the committee of official. Official decide the referee, judge, etc. Maintenance of venue is a part of ground and equipment committee. Ground and equipment committee look after the venue, ground, etc. Which committee see that budget and expense are under control? The finance committee. Finance committee see the budget. List any three prenatal responsibility taken by the sports committee. Sports committee, it is a group of people. So before organizing any tournament, any sports, the responsibility of sports committee is to fix the venue, date, timing of the sports event, prepare the event, prepare the committee, program, judge, etc. and appoint different officials that are going to judge the sports event, as well as inviting the chief guest. Doing asana is a healthy way of life. Justify the statement by giving any three important of it. Yes, doing asana is a healthy way of life. If we do asanas, it's help to improve our life. Asanas improve our cardiovascular systems, improve our respiratory systems. If we do asanas, it helps to keep away from cardiac problem like heart problems, heart attack, etc. If we do asanas, our body will functions properly. We are able to control our sense organs. If we do the asanas, it helps to reduce the stress, tensions, it develop the concentrations, it's help in proper growth and development of body, cure disease, prevent premature aging, etc. Interpret the symptom of cognitive disability. Disability, it is an impairment that affect a person's day-to-day activity. Disability, there are three types of disability: physical impairment, cognitive disability, and intellectual disability. Cognitive disability it is a neurological disability related to nervous systems that hinders an individual to store, process, and produce the informations. This ability affects an individual to read, write, speak, and it affects a person's thought process, personality, and memory resulting from an injury to the brain. What are the basic movement of a child in early childhood stage? Early childhood stage, what their basic movement? What are the basic movement of a child in early childhood stage? That is, first thing, this is the topic of children's and humans in sports. Exercise guideline at different stages of growth and development. Growth means increase in size, shape, height, etc. That is quantitative change. And development, it is a qualitative change in quality, functioning, characters, etc. What are the basic movement in early childhood stage? That is between the 2 to 6 years. Early childhood stage is between 2 years to 6 years. In this stage, the main concern is to develop the gross motor development along with fine motor development. At this stage, there is gross motor development plus fine motor development. Gross motor development means development of the child big muscles, and fine motor development means development of child small muscle. So at this stage, both gross and motor development take place. Therefore, the child do the activity like running, throwing, jumping, uh, team game, etc. Next is, in what way are sports injury classified? Sports injury are the injury that occurs in sports. Sports injury are classified into two types: soft tissue injury and hard tissue injury. Soft tissue injury are those soft tissue injury occurs in soft tissue injury. There are two types: skin injury and muscle injury. Skin injury are injury over the skin like contusion, abrasion, laceration, incision. And muscle injury are those injuries that occurred in muscles, tendons, ligament, like sprain, strain, muscle cramp. Next is hard tissue injury. Hard tissue injury means injury to the bones like fractures, dislocation, etc. These are the classifications of sports injury. First, soft tissue injury and hard tissue injury. Soft tissue injury, that is skin injury and muscle injury. Hard tissue injury, that is bone injury, fractures and dislocation. Explain the purpose of sit and reach test. Sit and reach test is used to measure the flexibility of an individual. With the help of sit and reach, we measure the flexibility. Next is Howard step test. Howard step test. This test is used. Howard step test. The purpose of Howard step test is to measure the cardiovascular fitness of an individual. In Howard step test, this Howard step test was introduced by Bruha in 1943. The equipment required in Howard step test is gym bench for women 45 centimeter high and for male 50 centimeters high. Gym bench assistance stopwatch. Procedure to perform Howard step test: first, the persons do a warming up. After doing the warming up, he will uh, uh, after doing the warming up, the student perform the warming up, and after warming up he come near the gym bench, and on the command of go, he will step up and step down on the gym bench for 5 minutes or until exertions at the rate of 30 steps per minute. In 1 minute he has to do 30 steps, and after the 5 minutes the assistants count the pulse rate as pulse 1 for 1 minute, and again he count the pulse rate at pulse 2 after 2 minute recovery, and against the assistants count the pulse rate at pulse 3 after 3 minute recovery. And next, Computations of fitness index. The computation of fitness index is done by multiplying the duration in second into 100 upon uh, 2 into sum of pulse 1 plus pulse 2 plus pulse 3. Look at here, 100 into test duration divided by 2 into sum of pulse 1 pulse 2 pulse 3. This Howard step test used to measure the cardiovascular fitness of an individual. We do this for the 5 minute or until exercise at the rate of 30 steps per minute. He has to step up and step down on the gym bench, and gym bench for female is 45 centimeters high and for male is 50 centimeters high. Gym bench we use. Next is, how can Newton third law of motions can be applied in a swimming pool? Newton third law of motions. Newton's given three law. First law of motion is known as law of inertia. According to this law, according to first law, an object first law state that an object at rest will remain at rest and object in motions will remain in motion unless and until an external force act upon it. For example, if a ball is kept in a penalty point, then it will remain in a fixed point unless and until a player kick the ball, and if it will move in the directions where the player kicked. Next is law of inertia. Law of inertia is also known as second law of motions. According to second law of motions, the rate of change in velocity is directly proportional to the force applied and inversely proportional to the mass of the object. If the object is heavier, we require more force. Third law of motion is known as law of actions and reactions. According to third law of motions, every action has equal and opposite reaction. For examples, in swimming pool, a swimmer pushes the waters backward, and in returns, he is pushed forward by the waters. Okay, therefore, the swimmer pushes the waters backward. In returns, the water pushes him forward. Explain the term motivations. List 5 techniques used for improving motivations. Motivation. The word motivations is derived. It is derived from the word mover. Mover means to move or to change. So motivation. It is an inner urge to achieve a goal. Means motivation, it is a force which energizes an individual to do the activity. Okay, motivation is a force which energizes an individual to do the activity. The persons who has more motivations, his performance will be more. Motivation, there are two type of motivations: internal motivations and external motivation. Internal motivations means motivation which come from inside of an individuals, like um, uh, uh, internal motivations like goal setting, social needs, trust. External motivations are those motivation that come from outside, like punishment, reward, etc. 5 technique. What are the technique used for improving the motivations? Like Like good playground, good a good playground. If the playground is good, then the athletes will be more motivated. Good health of the athletes, if the health of the player is good, he will be motivated for participating in sports. Good quality apparatus and good play field, if the equipment is good, then he will be motivated to perform better. Sufficient practice, if the player has done sufficient practice, he will more motivate. Reward, prize money, prize is also act as a motivation to motivate the players to participate in sports. Punishment is also the motivations. Punishment, it is a negative motivations which also helps to motivate the person. uh, Spectators, crowd feedback means audience also act as a motivations. It encourages the player to perform better. Safety means safety equipment, competition, teamwork, uh, coaching and guidance. If the athlete has good coaching, if he has done good practice, then he will be more motivated. Next is explain the importance of maximum strength in sports. Maximum strength means ability to overcome the resistance. Okay, strength, it is the ability of an individual to overcome resistance. There are two type of strength: static strength, dynamic strength. Static strength means ability to overcome resistance from a fixed point, and dynamic strength means ability to overcome resistance while in movement. In dynamic strength there are three types: maximum strength, explosive strength, and strength endurance. So maximum strength means ability to overcome maximum resistance. For examples, weightliftings, you have to overcome maximum resistance from a single contraction, and it is measured through powerlifting, throwing attempt, etc. List any three benefit of performing yoga. Yoga means union of Atma with Paramatma. If we perform yoga, it helps to improve our cardiovascular endurance, it's improve our respiratory systems, improve our digestive functions, it helps to cure from various cardiac problems, it's help to control our stress, tensions, improve our concentrations, it's help to maintain the good posture, etc. Explain the procedure of performing Paschimottanasana. In Paschimottanasana, how you will perform Paschimottanasana? First, you have to sit down. You have to sit down with your legs straight. Your legs should be straight forward, and slowly try to touch your nose to the forehead. Touch your forehead to the knees and hold that positions for a second. Okay, sit with straight leg in front. Leg is stretched, your knees should be stretched, and try to touch your forehead to the knees and hold the final position for some time. Paschimottanasana help to cure back pain, asthma problems. It's help to control weight, prevent obesity. It's help to remove back pain, improve our leg strength, cure gastric problems, indigestions, constipation problem, etc. And the persons who have severe back pain, they should avoid it. Next is, what is the basic difference between disability and disorders? Disability, disability is an impairment that may be physical, intellectual, cognitive, etc., which affect a person day-to-day activity. And mainly, disability is an impairment that may be cognitive, development, intellectuals, mental, physical, sensory, or some combinations of this. Disability affect your day-to-day activity. It is a disadvantage. Disability, it is a permanent. It can't be cured. Disorders, it is mainly related to mind. It is a problem or illness which affects someone's mind or the body. It is mainly related to mind. It only disturb the daily activity of a person's. This disorders, it can be prevent. Disorders, if we cure if we cure earlier, it can be prevent. If we does not cure this disorder, change into disability, and if it changes in disability, it can't be cured, it can't be prevent. Explain explain any four cause of intellectual disability. Intellectual disability, in intellectual disability, it is a developmental disability. If the person is suffering from intellectual, there are three types of disability: a physical impairment, cognitive disability, and intellectual disability. In intellectual disability, if the person is suffering from intellectual disability, he faces difficulty in thought process, learning, communications, remembering. He faces difficulty in making the judgment, problem solving, etc. His IQ level is weak. Describe any 5 types of disorders. Disorders, it is the illness or the problem which is mainly related to mind. Disorders like attention deficit hyperactivity disorders, sensory processing disorders, autism spectrum disorders, oppositional defined disorder. These are the some types of disorders. First, let's discuss attention deficit hyperactivity disorders. In attention deficit hyperactivity disorders, the person is not able to pay attention. It is it is mainly a brain disorders marked by an ongoing patterns of inattention. The player is not able to pay attentions, hyperactivity or impulsivity. It is mainly three type. Inattention, is not able to pay attentions. Hyperactivity means the person seem to move about constantly. Impulsivity means he is not able. It means he make the hasty actions without thinking. The cause of attention deficit hyperactivity, it is the brain injury, low birth weight during the birth, trauma, brain disease, etc. And its management by changing his lifestyle, medications, hospitalizations, etc. In sensory processing disorders, the persons face difficulty in receiving and responding the message that come through the sense. In autism spectrum disorders, it is a developmental disorders. It is a development disorders. The persons face difficulty in remembering, communicating language, uh, etc. In oppositional defined disorders, it is mainly seen in child. The child display an ongoing patterns of angry, irritations, aggressive natures, violent behaviors. He always fight. He always fight. Failure to think before speaking, etc. And last, obsessive compulsive disorders. It is a disorders. In this disorders, people people feel the needs to check the things constantly, repeatedly. Okay, in obsessive compulsive disorders, in this type of disorder, the persons um uh, uh, is a type of mental illness that causes unwanted thought. In this type of disorders, the unwanted thought come in mind. Therefore, he do the same thing again and again to get the rid of the thought. He do the same thing again and again. This is obsessive compulsive disorders. Obsessive compulsive disorders, it is a mental disorders, it is a mental illness that cause unwanted thought in his mind. Therefore, he do the same things again and again. These are the some type of disorders.